Yo, what is up guys? It's your boy Shieldcoomer, aka Sirigath, and in this video we're gonna be covering Temple of the Jade Serpent. This is done on Tyrannical 22. So, a somewhat tricky key, I would say. Definitely on some weeks more tricky than some others, mainly because of like a couple of factors, like, you know, bosses can be tricky on Tyrannical, I'm not gonna lie. And then, you know, Shas are an absolute menace. You also have pandas, although most people nowadays skip pandas. There's a couple of tricky mobs that I feel like not everybody truly understands how they work. So, you know, we'll try to cover these things. We'll try to talk about them a little bit. And I feel like there's still a couple of things for me to learn in this dungeon, that's for sure. But overall, I feel like my understanding of it is pretty decent. So let's get into it. I mean, obviously with these dots, like ideally you can line of sight it, but honestly on Tyrannical, at least in the weeks like this, it's not that bad. Bolstering might make this tricky, but as you can see, like these guys decided to like chain pull the pack into this. It was pretty good decision. You know, once we clear the first splashers, then they handle the rest of them. And you know, DPS wisely decided to line of sight after the mob got bolstered. However, they failed, but it didn't really matter. So one thing you gotta be careful as a healer here is, as you can see, like these droplets, they channel this splashing splash. Basically that's a pulsating AoE damage which will deal damage to like everybody. I don't know how big the range is, but practically it will deal damage to everyone in the party, so you just gotta be ready to do some like AoE sustained heals and stuff, and that's about it. Now on bolstering weeks, of course, they will get stronger once things start dying, so be prepared to like maybe commit a CD or something to it. You know, as a priest, you have this luxury of mass dispelling the dots, so at least we got that going for us. So that's pretty good. Anyway, here, like, pay attention how I retargeted the boss on accident. So this wipe that's gonna happen right here is completely on me. I have never seen that before. So basically what happened is, when I was hiding behind pillar, my camera got angled in such a way that the only thing in line of sight was Marie, and I'm assuming I pressed tab, probably, and simply assumed I targeted another mob because I wanted to redot them, I think, right? Because might as well like cast something while moving, and I accidentally purged, wicked purged the boss. So that was unfortunate. This key was incredibly smooth, so I'm glad that people stuck around. A lot of times you will see as you push Mythic Plus and stuff, I'm sure you guys have been in these scenarios where a wipe like this happens and somebody just instantly leaves. Even though realistically, like on a fortified week, this is not such a big time loss. Don't get me wrong, it's a bad mistake and we've lost like almost a minute because of it, but as you will see, the key will still be timed and quite comfortably at that. So sometimes not giving up is worth it. And I would say like big part of how efficient you are with pushing is how good you are at recognizing which groups have a chance to time things. Like you need to like pay attention to how much damage they're dealing, how good they are at avoiding damage, and all of these things in order to know this. And sometimes even then it's hard to tell without like having like full knowledge of everybody's damage profiles and whatnot. Anyway, this boss honestly is both easy and hard. The hard part is that one mistake will kill you, and that's always annoying. There is, you know, there's never like a certain, how do I put it, like on a lot of bosses you can make tiny mistakes and then you can fix them, usually by like, you know, losing a little bit of like output or whatever and just like really fixing your positioning and stuff. But as you push higher and higher, the bosses will start like punishing your mistakes more and more, and especially on Tyrannical weeks. So this boss is a great example of like like just 1-2, like he has like 2 one-shot mechanics almost. Like the water isn't one-shot on any key level, but I think above 20 it one-shots even on fortified, or at least is close to it.
Wash away.
You just gotta be careful. It's all about pre-planning your movement, and on certain weeks it's a genuine hell with like Quaking, Storming. These two will make this boss a nightmare. We had Quaking recently, right? And this was so bad. Like this boss is just so obnoxious with Quaking. People just killing each other and stuff. It's, you know, that's just kind of how it is. Not much we can do about it. Just don't die to water and don't die to like beam. These are two embarrassing things. As a healer, DPS as much as you can here. Try to leave room for DPSers so they can hide properly as well and stuff. And obviously people that get selected rather targeted by the what do you call it? It's the ability called, I actually never paid attention. Corrupted Vortex. Okay, there it is. Yeah, so just like heal that, obviously. Like I like to put a shield on them because I will be using penance a lot, which means our shields are buffed. So just make sure you shield them when they get it, and usually you won't even have to heal them because of your like atonement will heal them up through dots and damage you're dealing. But sometimes, as you can see here, they be ready with Power Word Life. The classes you gotta pay a little bit more attention to usually are the ones which are slow and don't have like any sort of instant movement. Usually like a melee DPS that has like some charge back or something is usually pretty safe because they will just charge back to the boss. But classes like maybe Warlock or something like that, they might struggle to get out of it if they're not using like the circle or whatever. So just be careful, pay attention. If you know, obviously like be ready to heal up if they actually take time to get out of the bubble, because they will die really quickly. They will die almost instantly if you don't do something, because these bubbles really do hurt on high Tyrannical. And these are basically the only 3 mechanics that this boss has. Like I don't know if yeah, it's a simple boss. If you're struggling with this boss, I feel like watching somebody else play it might help a little bit with like pre-planned movement and stuff. And yeah, here we invis, as I said, pandas are a skip nowadays, almost always. I've seen a couple of crazy groups play pandas, but in general I just feel like it's a very dangerous pack for, like, you know, it's not like it's awarding that much percent compared to how dangerous it is, so it's kind of pointless to play it. I will say, like, I think this can, like, Discipline Priest is a great combination with Blood Knight. It's very interesting, like, synergy between these two, because like one thing we struggle as Disc Priests is our ability to top tanks up is not the best. Our heals are not the strongest. We provide the consistent atonement through like shielding and atonement, consistent healing through atonements with the shield and atonement. Okay, I made a mess out of that sentence. You guys know what I mean, hopefully.
Territorial display.
Like you should always make an I don't know what this guy was thinking standing there. You will always have your atonement on tank, or should, like almost always. The best way to do this is after you throw a penance, just shield your tank. That's my favorite way of doing it, because you will get that buffed shield. It will give him like, I don't know, like it's like almost 100k HP or something shield, so it's a pretty big absorb. So that will already be quite a big portion of like protection, let's say, and then obviously we'll leave an atonement on him, which you will then heal through by dealing damage, applying dots, and then we go in circle, right? Then you will again do your damage segment and reapply the shield, and it just keeps going in circle. So yeah, obviously sometimes tanks will need a little bit of extra healing. That's kind of the what differentiates, I would say, like good M+ healers from bad, is knowing when to DPS and knowing when to HPS, I like to call it. But yeah, knowing when to deal damage and when to heal is such a big part of healing in M+, and one of the best ways to improve, I feel like, as you're like learning to heal dungeons and stuff, is This season, genuinely, there's a lot of healing to be done overall. Like, you sometimes need to put out insane HPS numbers just to live in these keys. But for the most part, tanks are self-sufficient, and like wasting your mana and like your globals on healing them is pointless. Of course, not always. I'm saying like there is. That depends, but blood DK is great in that regard because you will see good blood DKs are actually genuinely immortal. Like the time when blood DKs are weak is when they have no runic power going into like a dangerous pull. That is when they need your help the most, and this is why we have great synergy with them, because we can pain suppress them preemptively and shield them preemptively, which gives them time to earn that runic power back, and that makes them feel very safe. And I love playing with blood DKs. It's just very pleasant. It's good times with blood DKs. Yeah, I enjoyed playing with blood DKs a lot in season 3 and 4, right, of Shadowlands. However, then we played Holy Priest, which doesn't have such a strong synergy with blood DKs. Actually quite the opposite. The things that Holy Priest excels at is exactly the same thing that blood DK excels at, so we don't really provide them that much DR and stuff. But however, this season you can play Disc, you should play Disc. Disc is better than Holy. At the moment, Holy is really not that great, honestly. It's not bad either. Has a little bit more HPS, I would say, than Disc Priest, but it just like doesn't do the same damage. And it feels very awkward playing it. I don't know, I didn't really enjoy it in M+, to be honest. I played it out of necessity because Disc was really bad early on. This last patch really helped with a lot of our issues, and honestly I would argue that Disc right now is probably like sharing the third spot of the best healer with Resto Shaman. But yeah, with this boss, like, I should probably talk a little bit more about the key, honestly. This boss in general, it's I don't know how, like, there's just not much to say about it. It is literally a target dummy where you need to swap and heal, and that's it. And if somebody wants to go high with the debuff, so the way this debuff works is you will take damage, or it increases the damage you take. I'm not sure, one of these two, but regardless, the point is you will take more damage if you have the debuff, but you will also do more damage and healing. So basically, ideally DPS swaps, but sometimes they insist that one guy keeps it, in which case that's no problem for us. Just keep shielding him and keep, like, put paints up and stuff. And you have barrier, which you can use at any point where you feel like, you know, the damage is getting overwhelming for you. You need a breather, you run out of CDs. Don't forget that nowadays we have, like, our shadow, our Mindbender is basically off of global completely. Not off of global, it's, the uptime is very high. It has like maybe like 20 seconds downtime or something. So basically, just use it non-stop and you will get your mana back for the most part. Use your power word Solace, keep healing with Radiance and stuff like that, and you should be fine. And here, very tough situation here with the bolstering on Shas. It's the same as raging. Raging and bolstering just makes this enemy so much more dangerous as if it wasn't dangerous enough already. You really need to be careful when the explosions happen, if they're buffed in any sort of way. People have like there's a chance that people get one shot even and stuff. Be careful. Like, ideally DPS recognizes that and doesn't kill them all at the same time. If they do, that's really usually not on you. Like, there's a couple of things you can prevent it with, like barrier and rupture, but for the most part it is simply up to DPS to stagger them and buy you enough time to heal up, and you need to be ready for that. I've bricked some keys and lost some keys because I simply wasn't ready for the incoming damage, because you really need to be quick and reliable in these sort of scenarios. So it takes a little bit of practice and getting used to. Ideally, you know, if you can communicate with your team, if you're playing with friends, let them know on Discord that they need, you know, when they need to stagger and when you have like running CDs for that. You know, as this priest, usually we don't really have like I mean, we can barrier, as I
Haunting
said, which
scream.
is great, definitely, and we can rapture, which is also pretty good for this scenario, but after you use those two, there's really not much you can do, and it just kind of like sucks. It kind of sucks. Anyway, here, one important thing is to have decurs, by the way, for this. Now, unfortunately, the shaman forgot to take
Haunting
decurs.
scream. Haunting scream.
It is what it is. It happens. I've seen it way too often. So unfortunately, that means you have to heal up these the curses, and that's not easy.
Leg sweep.
It takes a lot of healing. I'm not gonna lie, seeing him not have decurs there made me mold a little bit. But you know, mistakes happen. It's like I've forgotten to take abilities before and stuff. You know, with the like new talents and everything. Sometimes you forget to change things. It is definitely, you know, part of the keys is knowing what builds to play and also knowing when to switch it and stuff. So you know, the preparation part is just as important as execution part. Easier said than done, though. You know, I understand people make these mistakes all the time, including me, including everyone. I guess it happens. You make the best out of it. Luckily, it wasn't fortified. If it was fortified, I think it would actually be like a really big misplay. Because it's tyrannical, we managed to get through it. As you can see, it wasn't easy. It takes away a lot of my damage and a lot of my healing that could go elsewhere into like dealing with these curses. But you know, as I said, you gotta do what you gotta do. Sometimes you will have these situations to deal with. Besides, it's a good, I guess it's a good showcase of like showing how the group looks without a decurs. You know, it's like, okay, if you don't have decurs, let's say you play with friends and none of you are playing a class that brings decurs, I guess it's a proof that you can still deal with it, right? And here this barrier was really late, but you know, it is what it is. Unlucky, I guess. Still did some work, right? I think it absorbed like 2 or 3 Sha explosions. It's not the worst, but should have been placed a little bit earlier. Yeah, you can see, like, watch now how long it takes to heal this this rogue, and he's susceptible now to like dying to other things in case he gets clapped with something. This is whenever you pull the Mistweavers with the Sha, that's where this is a problem. Like, as long as you don't do that, technically there shouldn't be much damage going on here to DPS, so it's not really that big of a deal. It just, as I said, like, curse just makes these, like, decurse makes this so much smoother. And yeah, here, okay, so this boss, like, luckily, if you're playing with DK, Warrior can also, I think, reflect. So these are 2 good tanks for this boss. You have to dispel this immediately on Tyrannical, pretty much, the fire, and it's a less, how do I put it? It's a less problematic phase.
Serpent
It's a less problematic phase. However, when you go into green phase, the what is it called, like Jade Serpent phase or whatever, that's where the trouble actually begins, because the boss will put like a heal absorb on the tank, and you need to heal it up quickly, otherwise the tank will just die to the hits and to the dot. It is it's pretty nasty. It's requires a lot of healing, so what I did here is I sacrificed my penance damage for the most part, and I was saving the big penance for the actual healing, which is something I usually recommend not doing, but in this particular scenario I think it's necessary, because that is like, that's all we got, I guess. And here, you know, with their like death strikes, they can heal quite a bit, which is good, and then they can rotate AMS together with the death strikes. And also, obviously, using your pain sub is it's just as important, because think about it, when he's low HP, like giving him that damage reduction can do quite a bit for him, right? It will buy him like maybe 2 or 3 more seconds, which will give you, it will buy you actually time to heal up just as much as him. So it's very useful to do. So I'd recommend rotating. Yeah, you can see I tell him here that I'll paints up him for the
Jade
next
Serpent
one.
Strike.
He gets paints up and he can heal up easily. And we're chilling. That's how we do that. Pretty simple. Looks pretty simple when you're prepared. I have struggled with this boss a little bit on Tyrannical, I'm not gonna lie. This tank did a good job, and I think I did a good job as well. And this is why this boss looked easy. It's not over yet though, but I mean this phase is just avoid the green circle on the ground, don't stand in the green lines on the ground, and don't get like frontaled.
4, 3.
I'd say it's simple enough.
Jade
but
Fire.
I've seen things that I wish I could unsee on this boss especially, but there's like a weird thing that once happened where we were standing like almost like underneath him and he caught us with a breath. I'm not sure if that was a bug or that's just how it works, but ever since then I'm not risking it ever again. I just like to stand on the side. I'm ranged anyway, so it doesn't hurt me in any sort of way, so I just prefer to do it like that. It's safer. No need to risk it, especially that boss is, you know, one of the freer bosses once he reaches that last phase, so
Defiling Mist.
just not much to do. Anyhow,
Tidal Burst.
Acta Mistweavers without the decurs, yay! So basically that means we will be
Defiling
healing.
Mist.
But no, for real though, you can deal with this. As I said, it's not too bad. It's just annoying because I could be doing damage, you know, and I could be like
Leg Sweep. Tidal
using
Burst.
my
Leg
utility
Sweep.
and stuff, and
Defiling
instead I'm
Mist.
just stuck like hard healing. This debuff, it's just not
5,
very
4.
optimal. Not at all optimal.
Defiling
Not, it's not very non-optimal. It's completely not optimal. So it's
Leg Sweep.
yeah, sucks. Okay, I'm gonna stop complaining about it. God, this guy made me angry. That key, I remember I was molding.
Mist.
I was molding. I think I lashed out at him at some point. I think I told him something like, "Where's your decers?" or something, and he was like, and he apologized, and I was like, "Ah,
Leg
man, I
sweep.
feel bad now."
Defiling
He said he
Mist. Leg
forgot.
Sweep.
And I mean, we've all been there. I'm pretty sure.
Tidal
If
Burst.
there's anybody like that hasn't
Tidal
forgotten a
Burst.
talent for a key, then I mean, kudos to them. They're a better person than I am, because I know
Defiling
I
Mist.
tend to forget, especially for like keys such as, you know, like when I'm doing like SBG or costs, like it's always like, ah, these are
Tidal
easy,
Burst.
right? Like I just go
Defiling
in there and
Mist.
I'm like, ah,
Tidal
let's
Burst.
go. And then I realize I forgot something crucial, and I'm like, oh man, fuck. It's gonna be harder than it needs to be. Like, you know, mass dispel and stuff. I just play mass dispel default now. There just isn't like any other talent that's worth taking over it. And in some keys
Tidal
it's
Burst.
useless, but I
Tidal
think
Burst.
it did.
4.
Actually, is there like one key where you never use mass dispel? Maybe SBG, yeah. SBG you never use mass dispel. Yeah, there's nothing to mass dispel there. But almost every key has something that is mass dispellable, so yeah. Pretty good talent. I really like it. I like that
Flames
mass
of
dispel was
Doubt.
really annoying to cast before,
Haunting Scream.
and now it's like super cool. It's so fast that sometimes I cast it when I want to precast it. I cast it too fast, and it does nothing. I've wiped once on Court of Stars
of
because I
Doubt.
was trying to precast it. This was earlier on in the season though, but I was trying to cast it like earlier, and I just got clapped. Anyway, this pack like super difficult, especially with bolstering, because the lesser Sha will get bolstered, and
Flames of Doubt.
what are they called? Malformed Sha. They're not called lesser Sha. Anyway, the ones that explode. So they'll get bolstered and stuff, and everything will hurt more, so just gotta be careful. You gotta do like a lot of healing here. This
Flames of Doubt.
This pack is just brutal overall. It is a very tricky pack. You have to save almost every CD for it, and that is really
Flames of
tricky
Doubt.
because a hard boss is right after it, and you will always need mana after this usually. I've actually somehow gotten by here with not having to drink too much. I think obviously having like a chill globe helps. Amazing trinket for disc. If you don't have it, highly recommend trying to get it. I used to dislike it. It seemed like so basic and so boring. It's like, oh wow, if your mana is high, you deal damage. If your mana is low, you drink and get some mana back. It sounds
Balance of
bad, right?
reality.
But it's actually pretty good. It's a pretty cracked trinket. It just helps things run smoothly for you, because you will constantly need mana as this, and this just kind of like makes you so you don't have to sit and drink constantly. It solved my mana issues.
Balance of reality.
I even got one with Leech in the vault not too long ago, so I picked it up, and I like it. I mean, I wish I got like Brood Keeper's Promise or whatever it's called, and or the Whispering Incarnate Icon or
5,
whatever it's called.
4,
Those two are good. I got them on my Volker, but they just never popped for my Priest, unfortunately. It's pretty tragic. It's gonna be one of those where whole expansion will go by and I will not get those two items, apparently. I'll never forget, like, season 2, I think it was, or season 3, I can't remember. And as a disc player, you know, you always wanted that changeling, right, for the cased procs. And I'd be farming mists over and over and over again, and I just never got changeling in one of the seasons.
Balance of reality.
Sorry, I never got it in the vault, is what I meant to say. Like, and I am a guy that always has like full slots in the vault every week, week in, week out. I never miss on that. Always full max slots and just never dropped. Pretty annoying. I was like,
Balance of reality.
I think season 3 and season 2 actually. I was full abyss except for that, I think. I think like pretty late was that what was that item called from, I think
5, 4, 3.
I don't remember. I can't it was the trinket that gave you crit. Was it like from KT? What was the name? I don't remember. It doesn't matter anyway. Anyhow, let's focus. I completely oh my god, guys, this is so bad. I can't focus on talking about the dungeon at all sometimes. Basically, this boss is very tricky. You can't mass dispel every single one because you will run out of mana. So don't try to do it unless you're better than I am and you find a way to actually sustain your mana while doing it. In which case, kudos to you. I never managed to do it. I've tried a couple of times, and every time I run out of mana. Maybe it's possible if you're playing with like a Boomkin. You can get 2 innervates in a fight on high Tyrannical key, because this fight is longer than like 3 minutes. So you can potentially get 2, but yeah. Basically, I like to kind of like layer out my CDs throughout the fight. I will be carefully using Mindbender on CD pretty much, but still smart. Like, I'll hold it in a couple of scenarios where I see that the transition is coming, the Bonds of Reality is coming. I will be using I will save Mindbender a little bit. Never longer than like 15 seconds. That's not really worth it, but I will save it. You want to mass dispel, obviously, debuffs when you feel like you can. I usually do every second one, and then other times I dispel one, and then you hard heal, like shield, balance heal the other, and then buy yourself time to dispel. You can also use Pain Sup, you can use Barrier on the transition, and you can use Rupture on the transition. I think those are good things to do. Anyhow, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, feel free to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what you think about the gameplay. Let me know what you think about, you know, channel. And I hope to see you guys again. Bye-bye.